This lesson will cover encapsulation. Encapsulation is the second of three main concepts related to object-oriented programming. Encapsulation allows you to hide data and behavior from outside classes. This enables you to protect the integrity of your data. When working with encapsulation, you need to decide on the access level you want to grant to outside code. You make this decision by using access modifiers. Access modifiers allow you to grant full access, partial access, or no access to external code. The access modifiers we will be working with are public and private, but I want you to be aware that there are three other access modifiers: protected, internal, and protected internal. Let's get into an example to demonstrate encapsulation. I'm going to go to my truck class and change my torque field to private. So let me change that. Then I'm going to go to my program class and notice that underneath torque, I have that dreaded red squiggly line. As I hover over it, it says truck.torque is inaccessible due to its protection level. If you recall, we got a similar message in a previous lesson. And as you might recall, the reason we are getting this error message is because torque has an access modifier set to private. You cannot access private code from another class. You can only access private code from the class it is in. The reason we make code private is because we do not want anyone else using an external class to change our code. If you wanted to allow someone to use torque from another class, you would give them access to the getTorque method, which is set to an access modifier of public. So when someone else outside this class calls the getTorque method, they will not be able to see the code inside of it. The getTorque method encapsulates the code or hides the code from whoever is accessing this method from another class. To give someone access to torque, you would go to program.ts and you would add my truck, and we're going to look for the getTorque method. And here we have our getTorque method. And before I run my program, I need to make sure to comment out this line of code here. So let's comment that out. And also we have a red squiggly line right here as well. That's because our torque field is private. So instead of commenting this code out, I'm going to modify it to print getTorque. So I'm simply going to add get here. And this changes it to getTorque. And I have to remember to include my parentheses right here. So now you notice that the red squiggly line is gone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out my getTorque method, okay? So let's run this and see how it works. On my console window, you can see that I printed out my torque is 0. So I was able to use the getTorque method. In case you're wondering why I get 0 for my torque, that's because I didn't assign the torque field a number. When a number is not assigned to a private integer, it prints out the default value, which is 0. So let me close this out. If you want, you can assign a value to torque. So I'm going to assign this a value of 8. And if you run the program again, you see now that it says my torque is 8. Now I want to briefly go over some terminology that is used to describe code in C#. The first thing I want to explain to you is a private member. When you hear the word private member, it refers to the name of your private variables. In this truck class, the private member is torque. Torque is a member of this class, not the other classes. And since torque is a private member of the truck class, it can be accessed by member methods. The member methods in the truck class are public int get torque and public void engine. If you click on the car class, the member method is public void acceleration. In the auto class, the member method is public void print. We also have something called member variables. In the truck class, the member variables are torque and towing capacity. So torque is both a private member and a member variable. If you look at the car class, your member variables are speed and transmission. In the auto class, your member variables are make, model, and year. The last bit of terminology I want to cover with you is member function. Functions are statements that perform a specific task. In the auto class, the member function is print. Print is going to perform the task of printing the make, model, and year. In the truck class, the member functions are get torque and engine. And in the car class, the member function is acceleration. During this lesson, we discussed encapsulation. I told you that encapsulation helps you hide data and behavior from outside classes. This enables you to protect your code from others who may want to make changes to your code. In our example, I showed you how to allow the use of your private members by containing the private member within a public method. You saw that when we allowed access to the getTorque method that encapsulated torque. We then printed out the torque to the console window. And lastly, we reviewed some terminology that is commonly used in C#. I reviewed with you private members, member methods, member variables, and member functions.